Welcome to my channel where I sometimes review or talk about movies and TV shows. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about why Spider-Man 2 is one of the best. With the release of No Way Home, I thought that maybe I should go back and look at one of the best Spider-Man movie. And I'm sorry in advance for my terrible review about the movie because this is my first time doing this kind of video. Honestly, this is my own opinion about the movie, and if you want to give your own opinion, then write it down at the comment section below. Now, why I think Spider-Man 2 is one of the best. Before I do that, I should do a short recap over this movie. In this movie, we see Peter as he is struggling to balance his personal life and his responsibility as Spider-Man. He meets Otto Octavius, who would later on become Dr. Octopus due to losing his wife and failing his experiment. Midway through the movie, Peter loses his powers due to an emotional breakdown and stress, and he quits being Spider-Man for a brief period. He goes back to being Spider-Man after getting his powers back to face off Doc Ock. Doc Ock by the end is redeemed, and that's my short recap of the movie. Now, what I love about this movie is that it tells a much more down-to-earth and realistic dramatic conflicts as Peter is struggling with his grades in college, finding a decent job, and denying himself a chance at a relationship with MJ because he doesn't want to ruin her life. It's the fact that Peter never really gets an easy life that really humanizes the character, which makes him more relatable. The movie also has the best action sequences in a Spider-Man movie, mainly the iconic train sequence. Well, not only the train fight but also Spider-Man and Doc Ock's first encounter at the bank, building fight, and final battle. And sure, some of the CG doesn't hold up to this day, but I wouldn't mind as the action sequences were shot perfectly. This movie also has the best Spider-Man villain in my opinion, as even though Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is great, I just couldn't stop admiring Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus, as I basically grew up liking the villain. He isn't like the Green Goblin who is just completely evil, but rather he was just corrupted by the tentacles after his fusion experiment went wrong. He only did all those crimes just to finish his experiment because, as he puts it,
the real crime would be not to finish what we started.
He was only redeemed by Peter in the end and sacrifices himself by drowning his fusion reactor in the river while saying,
"I will not die a monster."
And he dies in the process. He does survive, but I'll wait until I get to see No Way Home. Now, I really love Alfred Molina's performance as he plays a character who is flawed and makes mistakes, causing harm in the process. The movie also has good humor, like the iconic and mostly all of J.K. Simmons' J. Jonah Jameson. He portrays J. Jonah perfectly to the point where Marvel decided to bring him back in the MCU. The movie has great cinematography as we get iconic shots like Doc Ock's death, Doc Ock raising the tentacles, the train sequence, Spider-Man swinging in the night, the final swing, and Peter throwing away his suit, a great callback to Spider-Man No More's comic book panel. And those are my nonsense rambling about the movie. In my honest opinion, Spider-Man 2 is not the movie I used to watch the most when I was 3, but this is still the Spider-Man movie that always intrigued me as a kid for its great action, comedy, and storytelling. And now that I'm older, I think this is one of my personal favorite Spider-Man movie, and I would put it number 2 at my ranking, which makes Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as number 1 and Homecoming as number 3. And as I've said, No Way Home has just been released, and everyone is already praising the movie and some consider it as the best Spider-Man movie. But I still haven't watched the movie as it hasn't been released in my country. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video of me just spurting random nonsense. Take care, and I will see you all in the next one.